Now I want to introduce our speaker today, Akash Patel. Um, some of you probably already know who Akash is, people who've been involved with ACTFL and American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages, where Akash is the president of ACTFL. But he has an amazing story, and his accomplishments are really wonderful. He's the founder of the Happy World Foundation Incorporated, which is an international nonprofit organization that promotes global citizenship education in schools and communities worldwide. And he helps to connect people around the world to share language and experiences. It's a wonderful concept. In 2018, he was working as a Spanish and mathematics teacher in the Dallas Independent School District, and he was selected as a top 50 finalist from over 30,000 teachers for the Global Teachers Prize. This was a $1 million award for the top teacher, for the one top teacher, but he was in the top 50 finalist groups, which is amazing, 30,000 teachers. In 2020, he was elected to the National Council of the United Nations Association of the United States of America to serve 2020 to 2024 term. So he's in the middle of that term right now. He was also appointed as the chair of the Global Engagement Summit, the largest gathering of American grassroots change makers and global activists in the General Assembly Hall at the United Nations. And he's the chair of the Educators Affinity Group of this United Nations Association of the United States of America. And this group helps educators from across the United States champion sustainable development goals in their classrooms. In 2021, he was inducted into the International Literary Association's 30 Literacy Leaders Under 30. So Akash is very young, and he's just done amazing things. And he, as I mentioned before, he was elected as president of ACTFL, and he's the first polyglot immigrant president of ACTFL. And he was granted an Einstein green card by the United States Citizen and Immigration Services. And they don't give these out lightly, so it's really wonderful. In 2022, Akash was featured as Time's Innovative Educator of the Year and elected vice chairman of the National Council of this United Nations Association USA group. And he has received many national and international honors for his work with anti-bias global education. He speaks 6 languages and has traveled to over 50 countries. So we're just thrilled that Akash accepted our invitation to be a speaker for us today. And I know it's going to be a great experience. So he has some surprises in hand for us to get us started. And I'm going to turn the floor over to Akash now to tell you. Thank
Terrific.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura, for that introduction. And thank you to the National Museum of Language for having me. But for the first half of our presentation today, I decided to bring some mystery guests for you guys so we could have an ice-breaking activity where we could all have some fun together with language, right? Because people love learning languages when it's fun. And if it's not fun, people don't feel necessarily attracted to learning another language because maybe their classroom was so boring that they just didn't feel like learning German again or Chinese again or Spanish again. So I want to try to make this experience so much more fun so that every participant who's joining us virtually today and those who are going to access the video on the National Museum of Language website later on do feel like this is a resource they can use in their classroom or use in their community of language learners to make the world a smaller place, a smaller and a happier place for all of us. So I'm going to spotlight 4 of my friends who have joined us today. They're mystery friends, and we're going to get to know them. And by the time you figure out who they are, you will also get an opportunity to get to know them and their passion for language or what they do in their day-to-day lives. So you see one of them is on with his video, so I'm going to spotlight him. Abdul, if you want to just wave to everybody, that's Abdul. And then another one is Lucas. Lucas, if you don't mind just turning on your camera so you can wave. There we go. Then we have got Tejane. Tejane, you are here with us too. And Rodrigo. Yes, Tejane and Rodrigo. Hey, all four of you. So I'm going to spotlight you guys. I'm going to explain. So please, please, please. Okay. I know Emily said in the chat, drop your location. Don't drop your location, because what I want to do with my participants and everybody joining this video call today is maybe use the target language. And in this case, we're going to use English, because I understand a lot of you may speak different languages. Some of you may be speakers of German or some indigenous language or Hindi or French, or I don't know what languages you speak. So in order for this game to work out, where we have such a diverse group of multilingual speakers, we're going to use English as the target language. Okay. Using English as a target language, what I want you to do is I want you to put yourselves in the shoes of a person who has never left their state or their city, okay? So do not put yourselves in the shoes of Laura. Laura has traveled quite a bit. So do not put yourselves in the shoes of Laura, where she's a global citizen. She knows where different places on this globe are. Right now, I want you to empathize. Remember the word empathy. Empathy is when you, if you can empathize with maybe a student, an inner city student, or a student in a small rural community in Alaska or in Texas, or who knows, maybe in any other part of this country, of the United States. And I want you to think about, would that student know where Lesotho is on a map? Or would that student or that particular person, maybe an adult, who is from a small town in Oklahoma, where I'm at right now. I'm in Oklahoma City, but not too far from here, maybe 50 miles or 100 miles out in the country, where I used to teach maybe almost 10 years ago. I had so many students who did not know where I was from and if they could locate it on a map. So for this activity, please put yourselves in the shoes of a human, a student or an adult who has probably never traveled outside the United States. I want you to think of some questions that you could ask Abdul, Lucas, Rodrigo, and Tejane to determine the location of where they're from. Okay, so as a good teacher,
your voice is correct.
Oh, sorry, Abdul. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now, but I lost the information you said before.
Okay, so what I'm just telling the participants, Abdul, is that they're going to ask you questions to solve the mystery of where you're from. And they cannot ask you questions like, hey, are you from the United States? No. As a good teacher, you want to model good questioning. So I would say, ask them about, hey, what's a typical day like at a school in your country? Or what is the weather like? Maybe how many seasons do y'all have in your country? Or maybe what's the currency in your country? What are the colors of your flag? Ask questions. And I want you to think of language as an interdisciplinary field, because language is very interdisciplinary. Using just this 20-minute video call with Lucas, Abdul, Rodrigo, and Tejane, you could teach language, you could teach math, you could teach social studies, you could teach science, because we're going to ask all sorts of questions that tie into these disciplines. So to brainstorm, I'm giving you 3 minutes. Go throw your questions in the chat. Emily and I are going to monitor those questions, and then Emily and I are going to moderate this video call, and I'm going to spotlight these 4 gentlemen right now so you can see them, okay? So go ahead and start throwing some of your questions in the chat. I want to see what your imagination leads you to, and make sure your questions are very interdisciplinary. Like, it could even be a math question. Hey, do you use the metric system? Of course, they probably do, because we're the only ones they use a different system. But maybe, hey, do you drive on the left side of the street or the right side of the street? Who knows? Just come up with some questions that tie to science, math, economics, types of government. Look, that's a social studies concept. What type of government do you have? Maybe what type of an economy? It's a capitalist economy, a socialist economy, a mixed economy, like where I was born. We have a mixed. We have the best of capitalism, best of socialism, and our founding fathers created something which is called the mixed economy. So let's keep asking those questions in the chat. You have 3 minutes while I spotlight these amazing global ambassadors of ours, and then you'll get to know them, okay? So let me go ahead and spotlight Tejane. If you're welcome to just join us without your video, but if you have your video, feel free to turn it on, okay? All right, there's Abdul spotlight for you. Let me see, there's Rodrigo. I'm gonna add him to the spotlight. Then I'm gonna add Tejane and Lucas. We have 4 people, 4 mystery guests. And where's Lucas? Right there. Let me add him to the spotlight. All right. So we have 4 people and we're playing Mystery Hangout using language. So let's look at some of the questions. Emily, you want to get us started while everybody brainstorms questions? So you can ask the first question, I'll ask a second one, and then Abdul can answer first, followed by Rodrigo, Tejane, and Lucas last. Does that sound like a plan, guys? Abdul, Rodrigo, Tejane, and Lucas. Please do not tell them anything about your country, okay? Like don't tell them the name of your country. You can tell them information related to the country. All right, Emily, make it difficult, okay? So pick some of the toughest questions, just not...
Okay, so I'm gonna move around a little bit so we're not getting too specific yet. So put some hints out there. So one question is, what are the major religions practiced in your country?
Abdul, you go first.
Well, there are 6 major religions practiced in my country.
6. And what are some of them? Oh, well, let's not say that because they might give it away.
They might get it.
Okay, good one. Rodrigo.
Catholicism.
Catholicism, so majority Catholic country. Okay. Tejane.
Yes, Akash.
What's a major religion in your country, or what are some major religions in your country without naming your country?
Christianity dominates.
Oh, okay. And Lucas?
Catholicism and Judaism.
Catholicism, and what was the other one? Judaism? Is that what I heard? Emily, yes?
Okay, great.
Oh, okay.
All right. Another question. What kind of climate do you have in your country?
Climate. So go, Abdul.
Right now, we are probably hitting into the winter.
Okay. Rodrigo?
Yes, we have a tropical climate, but sometimes it's very, very cold. But it depends because right now we are passing through a natural phenomenon called el fenómeno del niño.
El fenómeno del niño. Are you referring to a natural calamity? Like, is it a cyclone, a hurricane, like an earthquake? Okay. Oh.
No, it's a climate phenomenon.
Oh, okay. I don't know much about it. Maybe some of our listeners tuned in. They probably do. I'm gonna have to Google it, but please don't Google, folks. We're just playing a game. Do not Google anything right now. Okay. Tejane, what kind of seasons, climate, weather do you have in your country?
Me?
No, Rodrigo, Tejane.
Okay, excuse me.
Tejane is around still. Tejane can answer whenever he wants to unmute himself. Lucas?
In my country, we're actually going into summer, but we have the 4 stations very separately.
Oh, wow. You're going into summer. All right, folks in North America, that's a science concept. Why is it winter here while he probably is getting into summer? So you could teach science there, you could teach geography there. And of course, see, we're just using language. We're using our target language, English, to teach lots of interdisciplinary stuff. So Tejane, if you're still listening, can you tell us more about some seasons or weather or climate in your country?
Okay, we experienced 4 seasons of the year. And then as we speak, it's extremely hot. And around June, that's when we experience cold winters.
Oh, so it's extremely hot right now. Is it, Laura, where you're at? Is it extremely hot right now?
Yeah, we're in the middle of summer right
Oh, nice. Laura, is it hot where you're at right now? You
No.
wish, right?
No, it's the weather right now is moderate.
It's
It's-
moderate. Oh, that's nice. Actually even where I'm at, it's quite pleasant today. It was
Yeah.
cold last week, but it's quite pleasant today. So can't complain so much. It's not as hot as where Tejane is, but well. Emily, you have another one, or should I pick one?
Yeah, you go ahead and pick the next one.
All right, Abdul. So Abdul, Lucas, Rodrigo, and Tejane. Maybe can you tell our listeners if there's if there's a McDonald's in your country, and if it has a different menu item, like menus in McDonald's across the globe. When I used to teach elementary school, my primary school students wanted to know if there was a McDonald's and if you had a different menu item than maybe at a McDonald's in the United States.
Well, yes, the country I'm from, yes, we have McDonald's, especially in metropolitan cities. But the city I'm from, we don't have one. I think one of my friends said or traveled once to India to my country.
But
And
it's okay. Abdul, you know what? You're
she
not in
said-
your country right now, so we're gonna guess what country you're living in right now. So don't worry.
Yeah,
So
that's true. That's true. Right now, I'm not in that country. So she said they have a vegetarian in McDonald's, and where they don't have them in the States. Some of
yeah,
them, some of them.
like for example, aloo tikki burgers
Aloo
and
tikki.
chicken tikka burgers. You would never hear that maybe in
Or
Texas or
tandoori chicken burger.
in Virginia. But anyways, since you gave away almost for those who didn't listen,
Almost.
but for those who did hear, we're going to try to figure out what country he's in right now. Okay. So, Lucas, is there a McDonald's? And if there's a different menu item at the McDonald's in your country?
In my country, we have McDonald's. Also in the main cities. In the city I'm from, we have one. But I think we have a very standard menu. I don't think there's a product that stands more than the rest of the others.
Because you've been to the United States, right? Lucas, you lived in Colorado last year, so you probably have been and seen the menu at the McDonald's in the United States, right?
Yes.
So
Yes,
it's
so.
similar to the McDonald's
Yes.
menu in the United States?
Yes, it's similar.
Okay. Rodrigo, what about your country?
Yes, we have McDonald's.
Is there a
Also,
menu item that maybe does not belong in the United States McDonald's?
yeah, there are a lot of different items that we combine on those kind of food with our culture.
Oh, they're cultural food. So is there a specific item that you can think of? Maybe you don't eat at McDonald's, but is there something specific that is on the menu that maybe our listeners would enjoy listening about? Like, for example, aloo tikki burgers or chicken tikka burgers?
Yeah, we have, it's an ice cream. We call, oh yeah, I know the name. It's called Marjar Blanco. Marjar Blanco. It's a desire. It's a desire for my country, and we combine that item with McDonald's ice cream.
Okay. And Tejane, is there a McDonald's in your country?
We do not have McDonald's this side.
Oh, good for you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Emily, you have another one?
Sure. So, I think we have a question. What does your flag look like? That might be too specific, but maybe you could tell us.
Yeah, the colors of your flag. What do you think,
colors.
Emily?
How many
Mhm.
colors
Yeah.
are there?
Yeah, colors in your flag.
Well, my country's flag is tricolor. Probably I'm not going to name the colors, so you might know. So it's just a tricolor, there are three colors.
And the country where you live, Abdul, what colors are those?
Oh, I think they just have two colors on it.
Two colors in the country where you live. What colors? Just name them. That's fine. They're all pretending to be not global citizens, so don't worry.
Yeah, that's true. The country I'm in right now, they have red, and I think I would call it orange or a bit yellowish, But I think yeah, I would say red and orange or yellow probably. Yeah, yellow. It's yellow.
Red and yellow. Lucas?
My country colors are light blue and white.
Light blue and white. Okay, Rodrigo?
Red and white.
Red and white. Oh, Abdul, he's got one color in common with you, with the country where you live in, red. And he's got white in common with your country where you were born. And Lucas with your country, white in common. Tejane, what are the colors of your flag?
We have white, green, and blue.
White, green, and blue.
And we have a little bit of black.
And a little bit of
Somewhere
black.
somewhere in the middle.
Very cool. All right. One thing people, travel enthusiasts always love, and, to promote language should also be all about opening the four walls of your communities, which we are doing right now through Abdul, Lucas, Rodrigo, and Tejane. So when you teach young children, maybe about money and currency and how that differs from one place to another, it leads to lots of possibilities. So like Abdul, if the country where you were born, some of our students in the United States were to travel there for $1 American, how much money could they buy?
How much things can they buy or how much money? If I
Money
say
and things, sure. Let's see what can a dollar buy in each of these countries. So how much money is a dollar in your country?
well, probably if you want to, you can in fact have a breakfast or even lunch, but it has to be on the street. But in $1, you can feed yourself.
Not bad at all. Can we do that here, Emily? Can we do that for $1? You can't buy a can of soda anymore in a vending machine.
Right. No, you couldn't even get a cup of coffee or a donut or something for $1, I don't think anymore.
But he's saying you could buy an entire breakfast
Wow.
or lunch, good street food. I'm assuming it's delicious, yummy taste street food.
And if you are having a coffee on the street, probably you can have some 6 or 7 coffees.
Wow.
For $1. Or
For
to
$1.
give you an idea, you could get 4 bottles of Coca-Cola for $1.
That's true as well.
Wow.
Not cans, but bottles. All right, Lucas, what can you get for $1? Sadly, before Lucas answers, I think I have one thing to give away. Maybe, Lucas, is your country still going through the inflation phase? Like they're still affected by record inflation?
Yes, it is. But we are slowly trying to get out. In my country, with $1, you can get, in my currency, 1,000.
Oh, wow. Lucas, last year when I came to your country, it was 400.
Yes.
And it's
crazy.
1,000 now. It just shows you. Check out the...
It's between 900 and 1,000. It depends. Every day changes, but between those numbers, you can buy a bottle of water, not a meal like Abdul said, but you can get something to eat at a supermarket, like a package of cookies or something, a snack, for example.
That's not bad. That's still not bad. I think a package of cookies for $1, maybe even Dollar Tree in America has gone up to $1.25.
Yep.
So I mean, it's not bad, not that bad. Rodrigo, what about $1 in your country?
Yeah, $1 in my country, you can buy a snack, okay, from a little store, from a family store. You can buy a snack and a water bottle of water. That's
a snack and a bottle of water for $1?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's not bad
right now
either.
We're facing some good economy, but you don't know when it could, explode or something.
Or collapse again. Okay, maybe,
Or
but
collapse.
still not too bad, my friend, Rodrigo, because let's see Tejane, and then we can compare and contrast. See another, I want you to also, all of our listeners today are adults. So if you think about Bloom's taxonomy and higher order thinking on the Bloom's taxonomy, you could challenge a language learner who's participating in this activity by having them compare and contrast between the United States and Lucas's country or Rodrigo's country to analyze. There's so many things you could do. Like, this is not just something that a kindergartner could do. Trust me, kindergartners in our program do participate in mystery hangouts. And we have college students who engage in this, and it looks totally different in terms of learning outcomes and the types of questions they ask or the graphic organizers they fill. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Tejane, what can you get for $1, and how much money can you get for $1 in your country? And then we'll only ask maybe 1 or 2 more questions before we wrap up and start guessing.
For $1, you can get a loaf of bread and a donut, or you can get 2 cans of Coke. Yeah, I think that's relatively what you can get.
So
and
Emily,
it's equivalent to 18 units as compared to 18 units compared to $1.
I love that he said units, because
Yeah.
without giving it away, look, another math
Exactly.
concept. You could talk about units. You
Yeah.
could talk about units. You could talk about numbers. There's so much fun you could have with this. Emily, as an adult, when you heard Abdul, Tejane, Lucas, and Rodrigo, what country do you think has the best bet for $1?
I would think it sounds like Abdul's country has the most value if you can get 6 or 7 coffees now. I think these days, even if you go to probably, I mean, you think about Starbucks maybe being about $2 for a coffee. If you go to a fast food restaurant or a convenience store, maybe it's a little bit less, but I don't even think you can get 1 coffee for $1 hot coffee anywhere in the US. So yeah, having 6 or 7, probably 10 times cheaper than the US at least.
Absolutely. And it's also probably because his country has so many people. Since he already gave it away, it's the most populated country on earth now. Has also surpassed China. So maybe they have to think about how are they going to feed their people, and at the same time, where per capita income is not anywhere close to what it's in the United States. Maybe that's how the dynamics works. But it would be so cool for an American to go take their money and spend it maybe in Abdul's country, and then probably Lucas, Rodrigo, or Tejane's country.
Right.
So to wrap this up, Emily, do you have a pressing question before we can try to ask them where they're from? Because I think we're going to wrap up our 45 minutes very soon.
Sure. Someone had a question of at this time of year, what kind of holidays are you celebrating in your country? US, we think about this as like the holiday season where we start with Thanksgiving, which is just really an American holiday. Then I'd say the majority of people are probably celebrating either Christmas or Hanukkah for a religious holiday, and then everybody celebrates New Year's. But I'm curious as to, in your countries, are there prominent holidays at this time of year, or is this not really a time when you celebrate holidays?
Abdul, major holidays, and when do they fall? And if at this time of the year you have a specific holiday?
Major holidays, we had it last month in November, which is, I'm going to give a hint, it's also a festival of lights.
Great.
So Diwali, that's Diwali.
That's true.
But also the country you were born in is quite a secular country. So yes, majority of the people celebrate Diwali.
And now we are getting into the more lights, for Christmas. That's true.
And of course, they also celebrate Eid because there's a giant majority of Muslims.
Like I said, there are 6 major religions. So yes, every religion has its own part to do it, to celebrate, to celebrate multiculturalism and the multilingualism.
So what are the religions? Just so you give it away at this point, don't worry. Just give them the 6 religions. What are they?
Okay, Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism.
Jainism, Sikhism, by the way, I'm going to type them in the chat for
Yeah.
those of you who are interested in just, so he said Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, those are the three majors. And then he said Sikhism,
Mhm.
Jainism.
That's true. And the sixth one is can't recall
There's-
it now.
Yeah, I'm missing it too.
Zoroastrian?
Zoroastrian, yes, we have a lot of Zoroastrian people. There's a minority, but you're right, Dr. Robbins. That is a major religion also in the country where both Abdul and I were born.
And Mila wants to know the colors in Tejani's flag again.
Tejani, can you tell us the colors of your flag again?
It's black in the middle, and then we have white, green, and blue.
White, green, and blue. Okay, Tejani. And do you have any major holidays that are celebrated in your country that maybe are not so American, like or like that we celebrate around this time of the year is Christmas, but are there any major holidays that maybe our listeners need to hear that could give them maybe what country you're from?
Yes, we do celebrate our king's birthday, and
King's
it's a
birthday.
special, yeah, it's a special holiday.
So
Besides,
Tejani, are you saying that your country is a monarchy? Like you have
Yeah,
a king?
yeah,
Wow.
Oh, wow. Look, types of government, eh? What type of government? Hey, we've got monarchy, dictatorship, democracy. Sometimes they also have, what are those called? I think a mix of monarchy and a democracy, like what they have implemented in Bhutan. Let me see if I can,
Yeah.
it comes to my mind.
Well, they have it, the country I'm living in right now.
What do they have? Oh, yes, the country that you're living in. You're right, Abdul. What is it?
True. We have monarchy and then we have also a social democratic system.
Yeah, you do. You do. You're right. So Tejani, thank you so much. That was great. You celebrate your king's birthday. I love that. Rodrigo.
Yeah, we have two consecutive holidays, which are called Inmaculada Concepción, which is a religious holiday. And then one day later, we have Batalla de Ayacucho, which is a holiday because of a war. We had a war, and that's why it's a holiday that day.
Batalla. So that's like a
Yeah,
battle.
it's December 8 and December 9.
Wow, that doesn't sound anywhere close to Thanksgiving and Christmas, right, Emily? Lucas, what about holidays, maybe around this time of the year or any major holidays that distinguish your country from the United States?
Yes, so in my country, the last November 20th, we have the National Sovereignty Day.
Sovereignty Day.
So it's when the troops from my country repealed the invasions of the French and the English. And then we have also the Inmaculada, which is a Christian festivity, and Christmas on later on.
So if everybody heard, he said French and English. So if you were talking about history, colonial history, there you go. There's connections to, there's so many connections you could make right there. Like, hey, what languages could they probably speak if they were colonized by the English and French? Maybe French, maybe English, but then he said a word that sounded Spanish. So maybe they speak Spanish in his country. So let's go and, because Emily, I don't think we have very much time before we take that break. So let's go ahead and start guessing so that we can say thank you to our four amazing John Lennons, I call them, or, our four amazing global ambassadors for their time. We can start with Tejani. So that one was a difficult one. Even I don't know. I do know, but I'm going to pretend. Remember, I'm in the shoes of an adult that has never traveled. Anybody want to guess what country? You can unmute yourself. You can throw another question at Tejane so we can narrow down what country he's from.
yes, Akash. Should I narrow the clue?
Actually,
Tejane, Dr.
Mila-
Robbins has a question maybe that will
Mila-
help us
yeah,
narrow it down.
Mila says their son has a guess about Tehane. Mila, would you like to make that guess?
Mila says Tejane is from Lesotho.
Oh, that's so correct.
That's so correct. That's awesome.
That's so correct. Oh my word.
Congratulations to your son,
Mila?
Mila.
So let's see who just did it. Ask her how she knows that. How did she guess? Going by the colors, I've been told he's from Lesotho. And is that Mila's son? Did you say that, Dr. Robbins? Mila's son?
Yeah.
Yes,
She said her son.
Mila, you want to unmute yourself and just say something?
Yeah, I was just saying, my son is a geography buff, so I just texted him about the colors of the flag, and he immediately said Lesotho. I'm like, okay, well, there you go.
And also the fact that he said it's a monarchy.
Okay, there you go.
So Lesotho is a monarchy. And Swaziland is too. Very close. Swaziland is another monarchy.
Yes.
And anybody know the location of Lesotho and Swaziland?
I know the continent.
Yeah, continent's Africa, but what
It's
part
Africa,
of Africa?
yeah. Not sure.
Southern
Yes,
Africa.
yes, Jill, you got it. It's in southern. It's actually isn't Tejane, aren't these countries inside like South Africa?
Yes, Akash.
Yes, Tejane. So Lesotho and Swaziland have their sovereign borders like inside of South Africa, right?
Actually, Lesotho is the only country. In fact, that is in Africa, the only country that is completely surrounded by another country, which is South Africa.
You see that?
Yeah.
That's what I remember a long time ago, 12 years ago, we had a volunteer from Lesotho that came and spoke to my fourth graders. So I can't, that's amazing, Tejane, because the young man who came to my school 12 years ago, Tejane, he wore some mountain attire with a mountain hat and like a shawl on top of him. And he said, this is how we dress in the northern parts of Lesotho.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's
I'll send
how
you
we
a
were.
picture. I'll send you a picture of WhatsApp. But that's pretty amazing, Tejane. Hold on for 2 more minutes. We're going to take a picture together before we go out for a break. Okay? Rodrigo.
Okay.
Anybody guess where Rodrigo's from? By the way, Rodrigo's country has one of the 7 modern wonders of the world. Modern.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, if folks can just throw random questions rapidly, fast, so we can go out on our break. Jill says Peru. Jill says Peru. Rodrigo, is Jill correct?
Yes.
Yes. And what's the one of the 7 modern wonders of the world that's in Peru?
Machu Picchu.
Yes, Machu Picchu. Terrific. Thank you so
One
much,
of them
Jill.
is
That
also
was
in
amazing.
that
And Jill, maybe you want to unmute yourself and tell us, how did you guess he was from Peru? What gave that away for you?
The flag colors and the religions and El Nino, the weather.
Lydia, yes, there you go. Okay, now what about Lucas? By the way, one of their favorite sports is football or soccer, not American football. You should ask him if they ever won the Soccer World Cup.
Argentina.
Gary says Argentina. Why, Gary? Why do you think it's Argentina?
Light
Correct.
blue and white flag. But I
Light blue
know
and white
because-
with a yellow sun, which he forgot to say. Is that right,
Yeah,
Lucas?
I didn't forget, but I didn't want to say because it's maybe a little bit obvious, but it's correct.
But the light
he did
blue and white was obvious because I do follow world football.
Absolutely.
and
And
you see
also
those-
the other thing that's really sad in this country is the record inflation. Just last year when I visited, $1 was 400 pesos. It's 1,000 pesos now. But I believe they have some changes in government and hopefully things can turn around. Right, Lucas?
Yes, we just have the elections in the few weeks ago, and now the president assumes on December 10th. So we hope for a better future for our country.
Yeah. So, well, terrific. Thank you so much, Lucas. And thank you, Gary.
And
And
I
now
was-
Abdul. Yes, Jill?
The other hint that I took away for Argentina was that he said that the religions were Catholicism and Judaism.
Ah, and
Okay.
what's the Judaism type, Jill, that I may not know of? What did you read about Judaism in Argentina?
Well, refugees from the Holocaust. Yeah.
Ah, the refugees from the Holocaust were the ones that made it to Argentina. No wonder they have such close ties with Israel. Very interesting, Jill. See, this is something I didn't know. Because in India, when I grew up, we were taught very little about world history. And only, of course, we learned about the Holocaust, but we didn't learn much about Latin American studies or, more about the colonial history in South America or Central America. So, Abdul, what's the country you actually live in? He already told us what country he's from.
Well, the country I live in.
Wait. Let them guess. It's a monarchy and it's a democracy.
That's true. That's true. And
Abdul, what other languages do you speak?
I speak English. I speak Spanish. I speak Portuguese. I speak Galician.
Galician, so that gave it away. So here, let's see. Somebody says in the chat, it's Spain. Definitely Spain. Mila says
They said
Spain.
it. Somebody mentioned it before I even said Galician. Okay, so yeah, they made it.
Well,
awesome. Very cool.
I was thinking at first it might be China because of the flag colors. And then I was thinking maybe Kyrgyzstan because it also has the flag colors. But
Yep. And now that he told you what language is, you know where he's from. So Abdul, Lucas, Rodrigo, Tejane, thank you so much, all four of you, for your time. Let's give them a virtual round of applause, show them some love for their time. All four of them. And by the way, tell us more about yourselves before you leave. Like, tell us in a couple lines, what do you guys do for a living? Abdul.
Well, I have been here in Spain for the last 6 years. I'm doing doctorate in the University of Salamanca. But at the same time, I also teach English at a high school here in Santander, in Cantabria, which is in north of Spain.
Perfect. Lucas.
So I'm international student relations. I'm at the university at the moment. So I'm very passionate about learning cultures, languages, and yes, I love traveling and meeting new people. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity and to everyone here in the meeting for sharing this moment.
And Lucas, what part of the United States did you spend almost a year or 6 months last year?
No, I went to West Virginia for 4 months. And last year I applied for Colorado. Yes. So I was
in
there.
Colorado and West Virginia. Huh. I haven't been to West Virginia yet. But very interesting that you made it to West Virginia. Rodrigo.
Yes, I am an administration of finances student at Universidad San Ignacio de Loyola. And also I am an English teacher. I love teaching language and I love to meet new culture. And thank you so much for the opportunity to stay here.
And Tejane is actually one of those very same 50 finalists for the $1 Million Teacher Prize from Lesotho. And that's how I know him. He and I were finalists for the same $1 Million Teacher Prize. So Tejane, introduce yourself, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Akash. I am a remedial specialist. I am a mentor as well. And I'm very passionate about integrating technology in education. And as you've said, I was shortlisted as one of the top 50 best teachers in the world. And I'm also a Mandela Washington Fellow. I happen to be an edupreneur as well as a social entrepreneur. So basically, that's me in a nutshell.
And Tejane, I'm going to give your email address, Rodrigo's, Lucas's, and Abdul's to the National Museum of Language team. So any listeners who are interested in reaching out, collaborating with you guys, talking to you guys further, because this was fun, wasn't it? Emily, was it fun?
I would like to.
Really enjoyed it.
I would like to offer them a little thank you present from us. All of our members get a 1-year a one-year membership in transparent language, where you can choose from, I think, about 75 different languages to study. So I'll send you a code so that you can try expanding on one of your current languages or adding a new language there.
Oh, that's
Oh my
awesome. You guys get a
word.
1 year of
Thank you so
free
much.
Oh my
membership to
word.
learn a new language. That's awesome. Thank you,
Thank
Jill.
Oh,
That's
that's
so
so
amazing.
awesome.
And I think that, Jill, these folks are so deserving of that, because just to give you an idea, folks like Lucas, Abdul, Rodrigo, they have connected hundreds of thousands of students across the United States with their countries using 20-minute video calls where they volunteer their time, giving a child in West Virginia or Alaska or Texas the opportunity to get to know Peru or Argentina or India or Spain. So thank you so much, guys, for all that you do selflessly. And the same thing that you did today, it's so selfless of you to give your time so that we can all expand our horizons and live in a world free of bigotry, free of prejudice, where we can all coexist and learn from each other. So everybody, let's show them some love. And maybe I'll take a picture so I can share this out on some of my handled. So let's go. 3, 2, and all right, hold on. I'll do one more. 3, 2, and okay, very good. And then we'll do one more. Hold on, of just the
Shall I do a
volunteers.
grid with everybody? A gallery?
Yeah, if everybody can come on, that would be great. We could do one more, and I'll send it to you, Jill. Okay, let's see. Let's go back full screen. Let's see all the folks who can make it and turn their cameras on. All right, let's go. 3, 2, and awesome. Very, very cool. Terrific.
Okay.
That was so much fun. Thank you guys for joining us. And now I think, Jill, is it time for our break before we come
Yeah,
back on?
let's
And then they
take
can.
a stretch break for 5 minutes. We'll come back
Okay.
and we'll hear more from Akash.
All right, sounds good. All right, Abdul, Lucas, Rodrigo, Tejane, you guys are welcome to leave, and Jill is going to contact you. That's so exciting. You get to learn a language of your choice for 1 year. Awesome.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank
Have an
Buenas noches.
amazing evening. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating in that activity. I loved some of the questions that you were putting in the chat. So just to give you an idea, the 4 folks that you met are 4 of the 2,500 volunteers we have from over 150 countries that video call any classroom in the United States or elsewhere at 0 cost. So if you go to our website, happyworldfoundation.us, which I'll give you information in my presentation, or if you go to any of our social media handles like Happy World Inc. on Twitter or on Instagram, a teacher simply has to send us a request saying that, hey, 1 week, at least 1 week ahead of time, and say that, hey, next week on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, I would like for my Chinese classroom in Virginia to connect with a heritage speaker of Chinese from some other part of the globe. And we have about 50 ambassadors, college student ambassadors. Rodrigo was one of them. We pay them a stipend, so they help us connect these classrooms using our social media channels with teachers all across the country. To give you an idea, every week we facilitate anywhere between 800 to 1,000 calls. So that's how, one classroom you could imagine maybe in Maryland or in Puerto Rico and in Alaska, and they're connecting with a heritage speaker of Spanish in Equatorial Guinea or in Argentina and Chile for 20 minutes. The whole idea, which I will now explain in my presentation, and then maybe open it up to a 10-minute Q&A. So it is 2:12. I'll speak for maybe about 20, 25 minutes, and can we have 10 minutes to Q&A? Does that sound like fair? Okay, terrific. Or Q&A or just an informal conversation, okay? So here's our presentation. I want to make sure that you guys, I think you guys can see it because I can see it on my end. View as a slideshow, sorry, not motion, slideshow. All right, Emily, can you please make sure that they're able to see it, right?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, terrific. All right, because I don't see you guys anymore. As soon as I start sharing my screen, I can only see a sidebar with the folks. So here's the logo to our nonprofit called Happy World Foundation. To give you a little bit of background, I came to the United States in 2009, in fall of 2009 from India, from a large city called Nashik, 200 miles south of Mumbai, the financial capital of India. My city, Nashik, which is 200 miles south of Mumbai, is the wine capital of India. We produce some of the best wine in India, and we have vineyards all across my city, surrounded by mountains, and a city of millions of people. So when we came to Ames, Iowa, it was a culture shock for us. Plus, in my city, we never saw snow. So we came in August, and by the time it was December, you can imagine in Iowa how much snow you have. So as you can see in this picture, we both were featured on the front page of the Ames Tribune, the local newspaper, back in December 2009. And some of our friends told us, Akash, you don't even know how to dress for the winter. Of course, you can see I'm to the right with that orange hoodie, which is not how you probably dress for an Iowa winter. But we came to the United States with the societal pressure that Indian men are supposed to become engineers, lawyers, doctors, or quite frankly, a disgrace to the family. So we didn't want to be a disgrace to the family, and the societal and peer pressure pressured us to pursue scholarships in nuclear engineering at Iowa State University. When we got to Iowa, we realized we had a lot more gifts than simply nuclear physics or math and science. We're like, boy, we do so well hosting international events and festivals and bringing people together. So the first semester we were studying, a reporter came out and did a story on the Indian twins, because I have a twin brother, Happy, and it says Indian twins give back to their new home on the front page of the Ames Tribune, the local newspaper. And they didn't speak about our contributions to nuclear science or nuclear engineering, but rather about our contributions to the community and improving the campus life at Iowa State University. So at the end of that semester, the chair of the American Nuclear Society, Dr. Carolyn Heising, a visiting professor from MIT and Stanford, came to Iowa State University. And she, during Diwali night at Iowa State, she met me and she said, Akash, I have an internship for you. I need a clean energy policy intern to travel with me to India to study thorium-based fuel cycles. Now, majority of the nuclear reactors in the United States use uranium. And India and Australia are some of the only countries with thorium reserves, and they use thorium in their fuel cycles. So she says, I need a guy who's from India who understands how to deal with Indian people, because I'm going on a trip to India. And she took me to India. And when we came back, she wrote me a recommendation letter. And she says, Akash, you have great leadership skills. I said, what do leadership skills have to do with nuclear engineering? So she says, you have people skills. And she was right. So in the winter of 2009, after one semester of studying engineering at Iowa State University, we bought a car on Craigslist, a secondhand car, and we drove it from Ames all the way down south to Oklahoma. And we gave up our scholarship, we gave up our pursuit of a nuclear engineering degree, and we landed in Oklahoma. Now, we have stereotypes of Oklahoma. We thought we'd be seeing cowboys. And to our surprise, we didn't see any. But when I went to some rodeos, and back in the day, I was, in school to become, I had given up my scholarship of a nuclear engineering degree, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I went to a community college. I had to pay for the community college, work multiple part-time jobs, and went to OCCC, Oklahoma City Community College. And then they recruited me on a scholarship to study teaching, to become a high school mathematics teacher, but at the University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma, a public university in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma, where probably I was the only Indian guy to graduate from the entire college, from the graduating class of 1200. And majority of my peers were farmers and ranchers, or wives and husbands of farmers and ranchers. And when they invited me to the rodeos, I would go dressed up, and my students helped me dress up. And when I dressed up, I would put a rosary on, and everybody at the rodeo thought I was the Mexican cowboy, because I spoke Spanish and I looked like a dark Mexican cowboy. To me, that was one of the coolest experiences I had, sharing with cowboys my culture, and sharing the cowboys sharing their cowboy culture with me. despite all the stereotypes, because many times I would sit at a diner out in the country and these cowboys would strike a conversation because I'm a friendly person and cowboys are mostly friendly too. So they would be like, oh, so you're from India. I bet you can see elephants in the streets in India. And many times I would joke with them because they were my friends that, yeah, you sure can. Depends on how much you've been drinking. Maybe you can see elephants in the streets in India. But again, I would never say that to students because students, they're not to blame for those kinds of stereotypes or ignorance. I was ignorant too when I came to Oklahoma. I thought I would be seeing cowboys. And that's why we have language. Language is so beautiful that it, through communication, through language, which we can help people dispel stereotypes. We can help people see that we as humans are a lot more alike than we are different, which is what each one of you did today with Abdul, Rodrigo, Lucas, and Tejane. We spoke to each other, not rather than speaking at each other and screaming at each other, which is what happens a lot more in this day and age in our society. So the work we do today is helping young children preview their misconceptions about other cultures, dispel any stereotypes, and lastly, treat everyone the same, which is a game changer in conflict resolution and peace building. So that's the vision I had back in 2014 when I graduated from college to become a high school math teacher. And when I started student teaching in rural Oklahoma communities, I saw a lot of children didn't know where India was on a map. They didn't know where Lesotho, forget Lesotho, they didn't know where any of these countries were on a map. So I saw a gap. And I want you to focus on the notion of filling gaps in life. There's a lot of gaps. A lot of people will see and tell you about all the gaps, but there's a few people that are actually going to take those gaps and be like, oh, let me do something about filling the gap. And you don't just fill those gaps. You keep on looking for those gaps and keep filling those gaps. So I want to talk about the gap that I filled in Oklahoma, which is where I find myself again today, 12 years later, that I'm here visiting my parents. 12 years ago, or almost 10 years ago, when I saw that young rural Oklahoma students didn't know much about me or my heritage, I decided to create my interdisciplinary lessons on elephants and sea turtles because my family works with elephants and we make elephant poo-poo paper. Yeah, you heard that right. Maybe this is a good time of the year to maybe give your mother-in-law some elephant poo-poo paper for Christmas, or maybe your husband or somebody. But poo-poo paper, because elephants don't eat Raising Cane's or McDonald's, they eat grass. Elephants eat 500 pounds of grass every day. Their poop doesn't stink, it doesn't smell. You can wash it and change it into paper. One elephant can give you up to 200 to 300 sheets of paper every day, and it's biodegradable. And it's a beautiful way to teach young children about elephant conservation and the countries where elephants are found. Because today, as I finished talking, every single day right now, 99 elephants are being killed for their tusks. So I thought, what better way to teach my students about my country than sharing my own experiences working with elephants and then teaching them how to extract the DNA of elephants to study poaching patterns, something that's being done by scientists in Africa, where they're making poaching hotspot maps, which have implications for law enforcement and drones. And then I taught them about my experiences working with sea turtles in Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Sri Lanka. And through those lessons, I taught them about the countries where all these amazing animals were found. And then slowly I realized that I couldn't be at every school in Oklahoma and teach them about elephant poo-poo paper or India or Sri Lanka and Costa Rica and Dominican Republic. But at 22 years of age, when I graduated, I had traveled to over 50 countries and I knew a lot of people. So I said, oh, let me invite Emily and Jill and Laura. These are my peeps from Germany and Lesotho and Australia. And they're going to come talk to my students for 20 minutes of a video call. This was back in 2014, extremely informal setting, even before the nonprofit was a nonprofit. And here we called and named the program Global Connect. So in Global Connect, you can see my fourth graders, my first classroom that I started teaching, a bilingual fourth grade classroom. There's Rocky Martinez with his map asking questions to his friends from Argentina, Chile, and Brazil who are studying at a university in Argentina. And to the left, these are orphans from India They got to talk to them, and then the orphans did a cultural dance, and my students did another now popular TikTok song for the orphans in India. And this is the young man that I was talking to you guys about. If you can see to the left, very left corner, that young man is from Lesotho, and to the right is the other young man from Swaziland, and both of them are monarchies in South Africa. So this is back in 2014. My students got to learn about kings and monarchs and how in their country they would drink milk from water buffaloes, something we do not do in the United States, but we also do that in India. We drink milk from water buffaloes and cows. But water buffaloes are unheard of in the United States because we don't have any. Most of our milk comes from cows. So for students, why did I create this program? For two primary reasons. As I explained to you earlier, number one is to inspire empathy. In this case, you can see young students from Bangladesh to the right who walked after school at 7 p.m. in the night so that they could talk to their American peers at 8 o'clock in the morning. So my students realized that a lot of these students didn't have much themselves, but they walked for 2 and 3 miles to come to school in the evening so that they could talk to their peers on one small TV. And Bella and Alexis that you can see in this picture, the first question they asked, Mr. Patel, why don't they have anything on their walls? So I had to tell them they don't have the same resources and privilege that you guys enjoy, having projectors and air conditioning and heating systems that maybe students in other parts of the globe do not enjoy. So one reason why we facilitate these video calls is for inspiring empathy, because many times this empathy can lead to action, which is what I refer to action civics, or inspiring a generation of solutionaries, global citizen solutionaries who are not just going to look at gaps and problems, but they're going to find solutions to the problems. And I'm going to show you how fourth graders back in 2014 found solutions to global problems. So this is another one of my scholars engaging in a virtual field trip with the author from Alaska who came and spoke to the students about the Iditarod. So now we have a collection of authors, actors, and singers who can all come and speak to students at zero cost through scheduling through our nonprofit. That's an actor from the Nepalese film industry from Nepal, another small country sandwiched between India and China, just like Bhutan, another country sandwiched between India and China. Bhutan is a monarchy. Nepal used to be, but now they are a constitutional democracy. That's a mystery Skype. Back in the day, we used to use Skype. Now nobody knows what Skype stands for, between a classroom in New Zealand and a classroom in Oklahoma City. And here's when my students started making jokes about Ebola and Zika. They didn't know what those diseases were. They just thought that the words were so funny. So I brought in social entrepreneurs from Liberia and Brazil to talk to them about how grave and terrible these diseases were and how many people didn't even want to touch people with Ebola in Liberia. And many people suffered and died in the streets without help from even the very same doctors and nurses that they're called upon to serve these individuals. They died. So for my students to then empathize with what was going on was powerful, because then later on, I didn't see them joking about these diseases. We have bilingual authors who can read books to students. And when I refer to empathy to action civics, let me give you a story. That's Bella when she spoke to the CEO of Community Recycling, an organization in the United States that recycles stuff and sends it to 50 different countries. Bella says, Mr. CEO, the work that you do is so cool. What can I do for you right here from Oklahoma City? I have limited resources. The guy says, I'm going to send you a box with shipping paid for. Throw in your gently used shoes and clothes. A month later, when we shipped it back to him, he calls Bella and he says, Bella, look at your shoes. They're going to kids in South Sudan. For the first time, kids at a Title I school had realized that you don't have to be rich to make a difference in someone's life, that we can all make a difference. It's a powerful lesson in giving. And that even elementary school students at a Title I school who don't have much themselves can make a difference in the life of someone else. I followed a reporter on CNN from Kiribati Islands, atolls in the Pacific Ocean that are drowning because of global climate change. These kids don't speak English. So I asked the reporter to Skype us from there and translate. So my students seemed to be bored at first because they're like, why are we talking to kids who don't speak like us? And then I said, don't worry, guys, we have an interpreter. And the first question Julius asked to the kids through an interpreter was, what do you guys do for recess? And the kids in Kiribati said, we just go outside and jump in the water because our school is right across from the ocean. And then one of the kids exclaimed and told Julius, but Julius, our elders say that very soon our island is going to go underwater and we are going to be forcibly moved to the island nation of Fiji, tens of miles, hundreds of miles away from Kiribatis, which are atolls in the Pacific south of our island state of Hawaii. So for the first time, students had learned about the word refugee, and in this case, it was a climate refugee. So the next day, Lorena, one of my scholars, she drew a picture of her bed, and she said, Mr. Patel, I don't have much myself, but I think I could share my bed with one of those climate refugees. I don't know if she ever even had the intention or planned to share her bed because she lives in a one-bedroom apartment herself. But for her to draw a picture and say that she would share that with a refugee, to me, was empathy, and was simple empathy that was inspired through an act of a tele-collaboration or video collaboration. That's a young man from the Kingdom of Bhutan. As I said, Bhutan is a monarchy, very interesting monarchy, by the way. Their king is the one who introduced the World Happiness Day at the United Nations, and that's the only country on earth that measures GDH, or gross domestic happiness of their citizens. We all have GDP, and you all know of gross domestic product as an economics term, but this country measures the happiness of their citizens. Pretty neat. So all of these video calls started garnering the attention of my colleagues and schools in the neighborhood. And that's why we piloted the program at schools in Oklahoma City with Oklahoma City Public Schools, Oklahoma City Community College, and the Dallas Independent School District, which is where I found my second job as a Spanish teacher in Dallas, Texas. So as I started piloting the project, then I started inviting tens of teachers to come and try out some of our volunteers, take their students on virtual field trips to countries around the globe. By the way, today, Rodrigo didn't show. I should have asked him. Rodrigo lives in an apartment right across from Miraflores and the ocean in Peru. So every time he video calls students, he shows them his balcony. So it's pretty cool for students somewhere, maybe in a landlocked state like Oklahoma, to see the ocean in Peru, or for a student in Alaska to be able to see a set of students, a volunteer from Costa Rica who lives right across from a volcano. So we have very interesting volunteers, and these volunteers, they forge lifelong relationships. So today the database went from 200 volunteers to 2,500 volunteers. And these are the relationships the students form. This is a group of Spanish scholars talking to their peers in San Luis Potosi, Mexico. That's a group of global studies classroom talking to peers in the Middle East, a set of twins in Spain, or that's a classroom in Medellin, Colombia, with a classroom in Dallas, Texas. These virtual programs made me think about how could I expand access to in-person global experiences for students. Because our nonprofits offices are based in Dallas and Oklahoma, we partnered with local universities to create an in-person program. This in-person program we only offer in our geographic regions of Oklahoma City and Dallas, Texas. The virtual programs are available to teachers in all 50 states and in other countries as well. But maybe this inspires some of you listeners to partner with local universities, because universities have lots of international students. We partner with them and institutions like Chick-fil-A and Panera Bread that would match funds to bus international students from University of Texas at Dallas, Southern Methodist University, SMU in Dallas, or University of Oklahoma in Oklahoma City, and take them to local schools. And that's some of my friends. That's my twin brother, Happy, and that's Camila, and that's Mohammed from Afghanistan and Brazil. So they take a full day with their flags, with their culture, their food, and they spend some time with the students so they get an opportunity to get to know people from other countries. And while at the same time immersing themselves in American culture, because here, my students were teaching them some American sports, while some of their peers were teaching them how to play sports from their countries. So dances from around the globe in multicultural assemblies. And then speaking of DEI, which is a very trending topic right now, I think it's about including all of us. Like today, what you saw, none of you cared what Abdul's religion was. Abdul, by the way, was Muslim, a minority Muslim from India. I'm Hindu and Catholic because my dad's Catholic. My mother is Hindu. So I was brought up and baptized at a Catholic school. Lucas is probably Christian, and I don't know. Maybe he's a Jew. I do not know. I've never asked him. None of you cared what our religions were. None of you care where we stood politically on something. None of you cared the color of our skin. You were just having fun. That's the whole idea of, language learning. It's about bringing people together irrespective of their differences. And that's what we do at Happy World Foundation, fostering a culture of diversity and true inclusion where everybody is included, including people we may not see eye to eye with, because that's the only way to peace. That's the only way to conflict resolution and peace building in the contentious times that we live in today. So another program we have at our nonprofit is called the Global Ambassadors Leadership Institute, where this is now virtual, open to people of any age group, where we connect you with diplomats and ambassadors from the UN and the State Department. And over 8 Saturdays, you create projects aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So it's a scholarship-based program. You can find information on our website. I do professional development, which is what I'm doing today with the National Museum of Language. I'm doing professional development on global citizenship and intercultural competence. I offer that to schools all across the country. Our virtual programs, in-person programs are all free. Professional development is the only way I earn some income for myself. And then our nonprofit is sustained through what's called our Global Citizen Awards Gala program. So last year, we honored the Prime Minister of Ireland. Right here in Oklahoma, you won't believe, we honored him at the headquarters of the Choctaw Nation, the 3rd largest Indian tribal nation in the United States. Back during the Irish famine and during the Trail of Tears, the Choctaw Indians gave $200 to the Irish so that they could help feed their people during a famine. And the Choctaw Indians did this while they were crying and losing lives on the painful Trail of Tears to Oklahoma. So we brought the Irish Prime Minister at the headquarters of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, and we honored him with our Global Citizen Award, both to the Choctaw Indians for their generosity in the 1800s and to the Irish people for years after years coming back to Oklahoma and helping indigenous people with scholarships to study in Ireland, or indigenous people with millions of dollars in coronavirus relief that Irish people fundraised on different fundraising platforms. So the result of our training programs, we now have over 50,000 teachers trained in Global Connect that now connect their classrooms with people all around the globe. So I get pictures from Wyoming and Arkansas and Texas and Missouri. So that's what I hope that today's listeners who are tuning in, they will reach out to my team and set up some video calls. Maybe even if it's at the National Museum of Language, that you have some fun activities planned out and you want to bring in one of our volunteers for 15 minutes of an icebreaker in a language of your choice. We are here to help you make those connections possible at no cost, because that's the ultimate goal I have for our people. The bottom right picture where you see that young lady, she's smiling and it says, Todos somos uno, a beautiful wall of flags with a Spanish message that says, we are all one. That's what we hope to, we aspire to create in our communities. And today, if you were inspired by the 4 young people and you would like to volunteer, like one of the grandmas of my middle school students who got so excited, she says, I want to practice 20 minutes and play mystery hangout with adult learners in Argentina. And if you're inspired enough to give 20 minutes of your time to a community somewhere, please write to us when I give you my contact information towards the end, and we can set you up so you can pay it forward by connecting a classroom in Africa or Asia or Latin America with America and giving 20 minutes of your time any time of the year. And there's no time commitment. You don't do this every week, every day, every month. You do this when you have free time. So thanks to all that work, we have been honored through many institutions, like Laura mentioned in the beginning. The United Nations has helped us raise hundreds of thousands of dollars through our Global Citizen Awards Gala program that our foundation hosts. We put that money back into the community. But lastly, I just want to leave you with a story of how I learned Spanish, because I'm Indian. And Abdul was another amazing Spanish teacher in Spain. But in India, we don't speak Spanish. We were colonized by the Brits, so we speak English. When I came to this country, I wanted to become a nuclear engineer and then became a math teacher. But while I was in college, I was backpacking. And my first backpacking experience was over winter break, when I told all my friends at Oklahoma City Community College, majority Hispanic, that, hey, I want to get an internship in Latin America. And they all laughed at me. They said, Akash, you don't speak a word of Spanish. How do you expect to get a job in Spain or in Argentina or Mexico? I said, well, you wait and watch. I'm going to use Google Translate. Very bad advice. You don't want to do that. So I typed up a letter. I used Google Translate back in 2011. And back then, LinkedIn was not so popular. So I sent it to 50 random people on Facebook who looked like professionals. And nobody responded except for one person, the chief of staff of the First Lady of the Dominican Republic. And he sends me a message and he says, Señor Patel, la carta que usted me escribió es mal escrita. He says, the letter that you sent me is grammatically incorrect. And the only Spanish I knew back then was J-A-J-A-J-A, which is ha, 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 ha in Spanish. So I said, of course it's incorrect. What do you expect? I used Google Translate. He says, I love your energy. Here's my WhatsApp number. Give me a call. He spoke English. So he says, I'm going to give you an interpreter, $200, a hotel room and meals. And I want you to travel around Dominican Republic and teach young Dominican children about your culture and your experiences working with animals around the globe. So I went to the Dominican Republic, worked with the office of the First Lady, never met the First Lady because it's a big, office. But guess how I ended up meeting her maybe 7 years later. 7 years later, like Laura said, like Tejani and I became finalists for $1 million teacher prize. And we were flown with Trevor Noah and Hugh Jackman and Priyanka Chopra and actors and actresses and presidents and first ladies to Dubai to the ceremony for the $1 million teacher prize. We didn't win the $1 million, but just being there was like a $1 million moment. To me, the biggest $1 million moment was when I was sipping on a margarita under a palm tree in Dubai, and there were two Afro-Caribbean Secret Service agents talking in a distinct Spanish, ¿Cómo tú estás? ¿Qué lo que mi mano? Which is only spoken in the Dominican Republic. So I turned around, looked at them, and I said, what are you guys doing in Dubai? And they said, what are you doing speaking Spanish? You don't look like you're Hispanic. And I said, I learned my Spanish with Doctora Margarita Cedeño de Fernandez, the former First Lady of the Dominican Republic. And they laughed at me and they said, she's here in Dubai right now. We are her Secret Service agents. And she's no longer the First Lady, but she's now the Vice President of the Dominican Republic. So the next morning in front of 5,000 people, she hugged me and she told all her people in Dominican Republic through her Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. In the last paragraph that she wrote about me, she said, Akash es un orgullo del mundo que se formó en nuestro país. Akash is a pride of the world that was formed in our country. To me, that was my $1 million moment. I didn't win the $1 million, but 3 weeks later, something devastating happened in my life. I lost my only sibling, my 26-year-old twin brother, in April of 2018 to a plane crash in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was giving an exam to my Spanish students in Texas when the school resource officer knocked on my door and said, Mr. Patel, we want to pull you out and take you to the counselor's office, and your brother's dead. So it was the biggest blow that I've had in my life. The only sibling I have who I lost to a plane crash, he would love to wear glasses and pop the lenses out of them because he thought it was cool. So I sat down with my friends, we're very close friends. I took my brother's happy glasses and I put them on a globe and I created what's called the Happy World Foundation, because we all deserve to live in a happy world free of bigotry and prejudice, where we can all coexist, which is what I hope you were inspired to do after you spoke to Abdul, Rodrigo, Tejane, and Lucas today. So during my time of grieving, the students at my Title I school in Dallas, they had raised $1,500 to give to my family for the funeral. We refused to take it. We gave it back. And when I came back to school after 3 weeks of grieving, the cafeteria and the books, the library were full of hundreds of Happy Meals for the homeless. They'd put happy faces on them and they said, Mr. Patel, we're going to go to downtown Dallas and distribute these to the homeless. So ever since, we have donated over 20,000 Happy Meals through generosity of students. And we created the Happy Nonprofit Clinic, a clinic that gives any aspiring nonprofit entrepreneur or somebody who has an idea to create a nonprofit pro bono services to create their nonprofits with the IRS. Usually attorneys can charge you $4,000 or $5,000 or even more, depending on how big your organization is. So we offer pro bono services to anybody who has a great cause, doesn't know how to file their paperwork with IRS. We help them create their own nonprofit organizations at no cost. And then, of course, I have been recognized by presidents on both sides of the aisle. Something I love talking about a lot is in my term as president of ACTFL. There's a lot of contention in our country right now and a lot of culture wars. And when you saw the work that we do through the video call that I helped facilitate, I'll never forget what President Bush Sr. told to me when he presented me with the Daily Point of Light Award, that the work that we do doesn't just inspire empathy, but it also helps American children appreciate the many great freedoms they have in this country. Good way for the Republicans to take a look at it, and Democrats to say that, hey, we love the work you do because it helps fight bigotry and prejudice and racism, and it's anti-bias work. So it's a win-win for both situations. And that's why, I've had presidents on both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, and a Nobel Peace Prize winner, Juan Manuel Santos, former president of Colombia, who invited me to speak at the following year's Global Teacher Prize ceremony about how the work at Happy World Foundation is promoting conflict resolution and peace building. That's the former president of Costa Rica, Laura Chinchilla, and to the right is my dear friend, Sister Rosemary. Look her up. She has an amazing book called Sowing Hope. My students work with her. We send her pop tabs from soda cans. And look, those former child soldiers of hers, they make purses and they sow hope at her school. She's a CNN hero, incredible story. Look her up. And that's my only Hispanic professor at the small rural four-year university in Oklahoma. The Republican governor of Oklahoma back then recognized her as a multicultural citizen of the year, and she recognized me as a multicultural teacher of the year. And there we are with the Republican governor, Mary Fallin. And in the previous pictures you saw also the Texas governor. And of course, folks on both sides of the aisle, which is what I'm trying to get to, is that our work is very nonpartisan. And it's truly to bring people together and to end some of the contention we live in, the contentious times that we are in right now, not just in our country, but worldwide. So in 2016 and 2018, the Oklahoma legislature, which is very red, they honored my brother and I with the Human Rights Award and the nonprofit that we created. And then last year, I was elected as the vice chairman of the United Nations Association of the United States and the president of ACTFL. And as Laura mentioned, before I stepped out of my classroom, my Spanish classroom last year, I was picked as Time Magazine's 2022 Innovative Teacher of the Year. It was just during COVID-19, we facilitated over 30,000 calls in classrooms all across the United States. So they came and featured my brother and I, and how my brother's death inspired me to create something that's now helping children connect with humans worldwide. So here's our contact information. This is my work phone. You can text me, email me right there. You can take a screenshot of the screen. If you want to reach out to our nonprofit, you can do that through our website, happyworldfoundation.us. Those are my personal handles on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and those are our Happy World Inc. handles on Instagram and Twitter for our millennial tech-savvy teachers who love sending us a direct message on Twitter and also now called X or Instagram. That's one easy way. You can simply send us a direct message and be like, hey, I run a language group and I would like somebody from Lesotho to come join us for 20 minutes on XYZ day. And we help make those connections possible. Just make sure that you give our team at least 7 days notice. Do not give them a month notice because we schedule 500 to 1,000 calls every week. So do it 1 week before you need a speaker, send us an email and we'll find you a volunteer.